Greetings, leaders. Welcome to Leadership Is Podcast. I am your host, Jason Muhammad, founder of JM Leadership Development. I'm here to talk to you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you on platforms like Spotify, Apple, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So listen, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And always remember, leadership is influence and service.
So if you don't know how to serve, you don't know how to lead. And so with that, it's like, what kind of servitude have you had in your life? What kind of servitude are you still willing to do even in a leadership role? And then finally, being able to listen. When you're able to listen to the group of people that you're trying to serve and lead, that makes you a better leader.
Greetings, leaders. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Leadership Is Podcast, episode 41. I am your host, Jason Muhammad, founder of JM Leadership Development. Leadership, that's what my daddy taught me, with special guest, Keynon Lake. Being the CEO of an organization committed to the cultivation of young adults to becoming the leaders of the future takes grit, dedication, love, and true leadership. And that's what we're talking about today. Welcome to Leadership Is Podcast. I am your host, Jason Muhammad, founder of JM Leadership Development. Today with us, we have Keynon Lake, CEO of My Daddy Taught Me That. Keynon Lake is the CEO and founder of My Daddy Taught Me That, which is a nonprofit grassroots organization dedicated to teaching young men in underserved communities of Asheville how to transition from adolescence to manhood by focusing on good decision-making, accepting responsibility, and being accountable for their actions. Welcome, Keynon Lake. How are you, sir?
Oh, my brother, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm doing well. With the climate of the country, what we got going on, I'm truly blessed and just happy to be here.
Good. So tell us, besides what I just shared, who is Keynon Lake? Oh, and by the way, happy belated birthday and Keynon Lake Day.
Oh man, thank you very much. So who is Keynon Lake? In a nutshell, outside of what you read and what people think, I'm just a very simple, humble guy, man. Just family oriented. Truly, that's my center, is my family, and I got two daughters. I got a 16-year-old. I got a 5-year-old. I got a wife, and so 3 girls. But outside of that, man, I'm just just really simple, man. It doesn't take much for me to get excited. What I'm passionate about, is basically seeing our youth and our families be successful. Be in positions where they can succeed. Being able to make sure that, we're doing all the things to help, with equality and making sure that everyone has, the right things to be successful. And so, I would just say Keynon Lake is a really humble person, very, grateful for my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He's allowed me to, be on a platform where I can do what I truly love most, and that's really being able to be a conduit to helping people succeed and having what they need. And so, I look at myself again as just a really family-oriented person, man, and who wants to exude love, to everybody who I encounter.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. I personally know of your consideration, for me, as well as being, someone that is affiliated with you and your family and whatnot. And so thank you very much for being true to your word on that. So tell me something. First of all, how and why did you start My Daddy Taught Me That?
So how and why? So, again, I look at it as it's something that, I look at this organization as truly being led by Christ, man, because if it was left up to me, it would not have happened, man. It would not be able to be as successful as it is. But how it happened was, and as I look back, the main piece that you could say why it happened was because my father passed away. So in 2010, I ended up losing my dad. He actually died on my birthday.
Wow.
And so, he died on my birthday, man. I got a phone call. He was down in Durham. He had lung issues, and he was down there. And I was literally going down there that morning. I was going down at 7:00 in the morning, and my mom called me that night. I got the call around 12:30, 1:00 that night, and she said he passed away. And so, but yeah, so as a result of his death, I wrote a book, also titled "My Daddy Taught Me That," and the book was to educate and inform primarily men about what I feel is one of the biggest problems in our country even today. So when I was writing my book at 2012, 2013, 2011, 2012 is when the information that I got to put in my book came out. The statistics were 13.9 million single families in this country. Today, I looked at this last September, and we have 15.9 million single families in this country now. So as of 2020 September, the number was 15.9 million. 84% of all single homes are led by single moms or single women. And so what that tells us, if we got 10 kids living in a single parent home, 8.5 of those kids are going to be raised without any positive males or male role models in their lives. And to me, that's an issue. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a Bible thumper or anything like that, but the Bible teaches us that, men, we're leaders and heads of our households. And so if we don't have that component, leading the way and being in the home, then not only does it allow our youth to be subjected to no positive males and, mannerisms and influences and stuff like that, but it puts so much more of a burden on our women. They got to be the mom, the dad, the breadwinner, the provider. They got to do a whole lot. And so it causes a family structure breakdown, and so writing that book, giving information, providing information, statistical information, stuff that I learned over 18-year career of social work, and stuff like that is embedded in the book. But again, the mindset of the book was to really talk to our men about the ways we need to step up and be better for our children and our families.
Yes, sir.
As a conduit to our book, in 2012, I started the My Daddy Taught Me That program. And, again, it was to really teach these young folks, first of all, things that I learned from my father, how to do certain things, how to, conduct yourself as a young man, what's the expectations, and, all those unwritten rules as men that we need to know and we got to do. Also, at the time when I came up with this program, the pipeline to prison was becoming very real. And so also keeping these young men out of jail, out of prison. So teaching them skills, letting them know that there is a system put in place that's actually working very well, but to not be subjected to that system, to not fall, victim to the stereotypes, or the ways that's out here trying to trip up all of our young folks, our young men especially. We talk about how to avoid that, how to not get caught up in the penal system or so-called the trap.
Yes,
and
sir.
so, really just being, we could talk about the makeup of the program later on in the show, but, that's how the program got started. It started with my father passing. But as I look at this, when I started my social work career, in 2003, 2004, it was actually 2002, I think it was actually, but it was actually the stepping stones for me to learn and build my skills to do what I'm doing now. So
yes, sir.
So yeah.
Very good, man. Very good. You made that transition from. That's excellent. How one career kind of fed into into your life's mission and your life's work. and
Right.
how you were in a position to be able to get data, and statistical context to back up, the purpose for you even starting this kind of a program. So yeah, that's good. So tell me something. What is your definition of leadership, and what did your father teach you about leadership?
So my definition of leadership is exactly, exactly what you said. Leadership is this. It's the example of not what you say, but what you do. And when you talk about true leadership, comes with fear. People look like, well, I'm a leader. I don't have any fear. No, you fear some things. You
Right.
fear. You have the capability to continue to press on, even in the midst of things that are uncomfortable or scary. Um, Also, true leadership comes from me with being able to serve. So if you don't know how to serve, you don't know how to lead. And
Yeah.
so with that, it's like, what kind of servitude have you had in your life? What kind of servitude are you still willing to do even in a leadership role? And then finally, being able to listen. When you're able to listen to the group of people that you're trying to serve and lead, that makes you a better leader. And so it's a combination of those things. What my dad did for me to show me about and teach me about leadership was a couple of things. The first thing was that he led by example. Whatever he taught me, whatever he showed me, there were things that he did. The other thing was he had me with him all the time, so I could see firsthand. And so I kind of copy that with my daughter. I have her with me all the time wherever I go. I try to make sure she's with me so she can not only hear about the things that her dad is doing, she can see and witness it firsthand for herself. And so,
Yeah.
and so, back to what I originally said, good leaders, they come from a place of servitude. They come from a place of listening and being humble, but then they know that they're not afraid to get out and lead so others can follow to positive, safe places. And so that's what leadership is to me.
Yes, sir. Excellent, excellent. So let me ask you a question. And every now and again, when I'm doing these interviews, I kind of stray off of script a little bit because people have a tendency to say something that prompts me to go a little deeper. And I do hear the baby in the background with the. So that's all good here. But here's a question for you: how protective are you uh of your program, meaning as far as like the people that you have around the young men that are in the program, and even the young women with my sister taught me that, which we can talk about here as well, but how protective are you as it relates to who you invite to your program, to be around the young men that are in your program?
So that's a very good question, Brother Muhammad. So for me, um, so I treat my program like this. These are my children. Like even though I'm not the dad, it's not like my daddy taught me that we're trying to be kids' dads. But when you talk about protecting our youth, I am heavily protective over our youth in this program. So this is the thing. We know that when you talk about youth, particularly young black males, a lot of people see dollar signs. It's point blank period. Particularly if you're having a nonprofit or you're running a group, and it's like the buzzwords are the underserved or the underprivileged or the minority, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
These are buzzwords when you're talking about funding and dollars that people look at to try to capture. In fact, the other name or the other example you hear is low hanging fruit. Our young African American males are low hanging fruit, and so you know this when you've been in the business for as long as I have. I've been, like I said, I've been a social worker for the county for 18 years. At least I was up until about a month ago when I left that position. But I know how vulnerable our youth are and can be, but I also know how vulnerable society makes them and how, or not makes them, I should say, but makes them believe that they're vulnerable. And so when you
Yeah.
have that, you have to really protect them. And so making sure that, that they're not around the wrong people or exposing them to the wrong things, stuff like that. And so I make sure that the people that I have around them, and I tell people, if you want to volunteer, we welcome you. Our screening process is a little different. We do make sure that we don't have, people who have, sexual issues, pedophiles, predators, stuff like that around our youth. But also we make sure that, I tell people like, look, come and get to know our youth, build relationships and rapport with our youth, because that's how you're really going to understand. But at the same time, I'm not worried about, the type of, with the population of youth that I deal with. There's also certain things that I'm not worried about because, a lot of these kids, they're raw, they come, they're who they are. And so you got to really have a special niche to get with them. But to answer your question further, very protective. I make sure that they are exposed to positive, productive people who are not going to impact their lives in a negative manner at all.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, very good. So here's another question for you. So how important is leadership development, to you for your young men? Like, how important is it for your young men to get leadership development?
So I think that is right at the very top of the list, to be quite honest, man. What we're trying to do is raise young leaders. I mean, to be honest,
yes, sir.
To be honest, brother, we and you know this as well as I do. When you talk about, and this is of course in my opinion. Let me. This is my opinion. This is not factual, but in my opinion, I think particularly, and you're talking about the African American or Black community. One of the reasons why we've struggled so much here lately is because we don't have any leaders. We don't have true leaders who truly have a heart or a mindset, or I would say the ambition to truly work for the people. And what I mean by that is this: when you had the civil rights movement, everybody was all in the same boat. Everybody was, everybody was doing what they needed to do, but it was one common goal to uplift the entire community and culture, which is, the Black community and Black culture. Now you have people who, who sell out, so to speak, or, you get paid to do this, and I'm not doing this without a paycheck, or I'm not doing this without any compensation. And to me, that's not leadership. To give an example, you're not bragging about anything, but I started this program in 2012. July of 2012. And so we're going into our 9th year. So this year will be our 9th year. July will be our 9th year of this program running. I say that to say I have never taken a dime out of this program until literally a month ago. Like, I've never gotten paid in 8.5 years. My only paid job was me as a social worker. January 4th of 2021, I left the county as a social worker and started working full time for my daddy taught me that. And so, for 8.5 years, not only did I spend, the first 2 years I exceeded out of my own pocket over $20,000 to put in the program. I've never taken a dime from the program. I've never gotten paid. And I worked 2 full-time jobs for 8.5 years. And so I don't expect everybody to do that. That was just the dedication that I did. That was something that I felt like it was needed. And, as a result, I'm working full time, but I say that to say we have to have leadership. We have to have leadership. Excuse me, that was my little girl. We have to have leadership at the forefront. If we don't have active leaders, uplifting our communities, uplifting us, leading people in the right direction, and I think, you have natural born leaders. You have natural born leaders who just that's what they are. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You have people who are born to lead. That's just what they do. But I also think that you could develop strong leadership skills by going through courses such as yours, such as the things that you teach and preach, and ways that we can improve.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I mean, that's a fact, because there's a research that states that great leadership is found to be 24% DNA and 76% can be developed. And so definitely there are those that are born with the leadership trait. That leadership trait, but then of course there are those that are hidden leaders that you may not see it, but can be developed.
Right.
So that's very important. It's very important. So, what are three leadership tips that you would give to our listeners? What are three leadership tips that you would give from what you do, from what you've seen, from what you studied, what you've gotten from your father? Just in general, what are three leadership tips that you would give to our listeners?
Well, Brother Muhammad, I think it go back to what I said earlier. For me, the way I look at leadership and the way leadership has been in my life and for me and what I've been exposed to is, first of all, you got to be able to serve. I don't think you're going to be an effective leader if you don't have any type of servitude or, you've never served in your life before. You have people who want to be leaders. They want to lead the crowd. They want to get out there. But to me, it's not just, I want to be a leader and I want people to follow me. It's like, no, like, I'm coming from a place of service. I know that this is an honor that has been bestowed upon me from, Christ or my higher power, whatever. They have allowed me to have this role. And so I need to make sure I take that, with the responsibility of making sure I'm protecting others and keeping others safe. The other trait and quality that I think that you got to have is you have to be able to listen. Sometimes people come in, with the PhDs or masters or whatever they have, and they feel like they have all the answers. And it's like, no, I mean, we respect your education and the fact that you spent so much time learning and, furthering your career and education, but you have to listen. People come from so many different walks and backgrounds. People's lives are, so different. The way you grew up, the way that Brother Jason Muhammad grew up is totally different than the way, Susie from around the corner grew up. And so really being able to respect one another's opinions and being able to respect, different traits and qualities that we have for each other, but also, again, being able to listen. You got to be able to put some things aside and listen and actively hear, what community and people are telling you. And then finally, not being afraid to make the decisions. A lot of times, I'll give you an example. One of my biggest things that I hate to do is, there were times that I was put in the role to have, sort of like supervisor positions or supervisor calls in certain projects that I worked on and worked for. And one of the things that I hated to do was, have to fire somebody. Like, that's just not what I wanted. Like, I don't, this person might have a family. It's like, I do not want to be responsible for firing somebody. But I think even as a leader, it comes with, again, it's not easy. Everybody can't do it. So you got to be willing to step in the gaps, even at the most difficult times.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's leadership definitely is, and I say this all the time at the end of my podcast, is that leadership is influence and service. Mm-hmm. And so definitely that's exactly what I believe leadership is influence and service. And so any closing comments, that you would like to give to our people? How can people get your book, and how can people support My Daddy Taught Me That program?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to thank you again for having me on, man. This has been awesome. Anytime, most of the things that you do is always awesome, man. We love, My Daddy Taught Me That. You're actually doing a leadership training for us now, so we want to thank you for that. It's been very, the kids are looking forward to the Mondays that you come. So yeah, if you want to know more about My Daddy Taught Me That, please go to our website. It's www.mydaddytaughtmethat.org. And again, www.mydaddytaughtmethat.org. Please check out our website. You'll learn a lot on our website. We have a lot of videos. We have a lot of information. We actually have a clothing line. My Daddy Taught Me That clothing line, so you can shop on there as well. You can follow me on Facebook, Keynon Lake. You can follow, there's a My Daddy Taught Me That Facebook page and Instagram. So you can follow us on that as well to learn more about it. But if you need to just call me, feel free feel free to call, and I will be able to address that. And my number is 828-582-2261. But any questions that you might have, feel free to give me a call. I would love to share with you about My Daddy Taught Me That, the vision that we have. If you go on the website as well, there's a logic model on our website which shows all that we cover, all that we do. So that'll be able to give you some information. We had that done 2 years ago to show, to give a breakdown about the entire program. But yeah, man,
Yes,
and also the way you get the book, you can order the book through Amazon, and you can actually order it through Barnes and Nobles as well. So, or if you call me directly, if I have a couple of extra ones on hand, I'll be more than happy to send it to you and make sure you can get it that way as well.
Hey, before we go, I want to kind of go back to something real quick before we go. Did you want to mention anything about my sister?
Yeah, certainly. So my sister taught me that is a carbon copy of My Daddy Taught Me That. The only difference is they focus on the young women, and so the exact same structure, the exact same mindset. My sister taught me that came about 4 years after the original My Daddy Taught Me That. And how that came about was that, going to our communities to pick up our youth, girls were running up to the van. Girls were running up to the van saying, why is it that the boys get to have a program? Why is it that the boys get to have a program and the girls don't? And so it took us a while to get the capacity, the funding, but we were able to get that going. And so it's ran by Leslie Council Lake, who happens to be my wife, and they do a wonderful job as well. So you can check out the girls program, www.mysister, and that's SISTAH, mysistertaughtmethat.org.
Very good. Thank you both for your service. Thank you and your wife both for your service. Anyone that works with the program for your service, that these young men and women will have something to think about as they grow, and they can say, hey, look, we had this kind of a support system in our community. This is why I was encouraged to go to college. I was encouraged to start my own business. I was encouraged to be a contributing asset to my community because of these kind of programs. So thank you and your wife for the sacrifice of your time and the 8 years that you put in working 2 jobs, getting paid for one, that you did in our community. So thank you very much. And thank you for being a guest on the Leadership Is podcast.
Man, you're quite welcome, man. I greatly appreciate the opportunity and for being on. And this is the thing, Brother Muhammad, you got to give me credit, man. I've been able to we've been on for about 22 minutes now. It looks like according to this thing. We've been on for 22 minutes, man, and I managed to keep a 5-year-old fairly quiet, man. That's a feat in itself. So, yeah.
Hey, I definitely give you credit, man. Hey, that's what your dad taught you, brother, is leadership.
Hey, listen, I look forward to doing it again, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Are you promoting the right people into leadership positions? How do you know? How do you measure the outcomes, and are they the outcomes you're looking for? Please visit www.jmleadershipdevelopment.com. Again, www.jmleadershipdevelopment.com, and request a half-hour conversation to assess if we can address your leadership development needs. Oh, and by the way, always remember that leadership is influence and service.
Hey, thank you for enjoying another episode of Leadership Is podcast with our special guest, Keynon Lake, CEO of My Daddy Taught Me That. And what his 3 leadership tips were is: number 1, serve. Number 2, be a great listener. And number 3, don't be afraid to make the right decisions or the tough decisions. That's what leadership is. Leadership is influence and service. Here at JM Leadership Development, our primary goal is to develop next generation leaders to leave the bench, embrace the growth mindset towards leadership, and step up to the plate. If you would like for us to do a virtual assessment training or presentation for your hidden leaders, or even keynote your next event, contact us for a free half-hour conversation at info@jmleadershipdevelopment.com. Visit our website, www.jmleadershipdevelopment.com, or call us at 828-333-7234, and we will respond promptly. Please subscribe to this podcast using Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, and many more at Jason A. Muhammad /leadership. Follow us on social media like Twitter is @LeadershipJM. Facebook and Instagram is JM Leadership Development. And always remember, once again, leadership is influence and service.